Hi, I'm Lynda Schlegel Culver, State Representative to the 108th Legislative District. I welcome you to Legislative Report. We're here at Furmano Foods in Point Township. And with me, I have Chad Geis, newly elected president as of January 1st, 2012. He is the first of the fourth generation to now run this corporation. Chad, thank you for having us here today.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Truly an honor. I think it's important for people to learn about the ag industry. It is our #1 industry in Pennsylvania. And this business I find to be a little bit unique because it is fourth generation. Very small percentage of businesses in the United States ever make that.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit about the family history and how this business started?
Sure. We are a family business. It was started back in 1921 by my great-grandparents, John and Emma Furman. My great-grandfather, J.W. Furman, used to be a truck patch farmer, so he used to grow his crops locally and then take it to the local markets and sell to the neighbors and the community throughout the valley here, the Susquehanna Valley. And he wrote a book called Stick-to-itiveness, and it talks in 1921 how he was really worried about how he was going to provide for his family because all of the crops in the field failed except for one crop, and that was tomatoes. And they had what they called a bumper crop, so they had an overabundance and more than the community really needed. So when he was going to market, folks were saying, we love your products, great quality, but we don't need them now. If you bring them back in the winter, we'd be more than happy to buy them from you. So he took on that challenge, and what they did was they went home, and the family, there was he and his wife and 7 children, packaged in mason glass jars, the remaining tomato harvest, and I was able to take it back to the market that winter and sell it to the market. So that's actually where the company got founded, and here we are 91 years later, still a thriving business. So as the business grew, it's transitioned from generation to generation. In 1944, J.W. handed the business off to 2 of his sons and 2 of his son-in-laws to continue the business on. And his 2 sons were Foster Furman, who was the 2nd generation president. He handled the marketing and sales, and then Bill Furman, who was the plant manager and also oversaw the engineering. And then the 2 son-in-laws were K. James Cole, who you'll speak with his son, Jim Cole, later this morning, and he oversaw our farm operations. And then Norman Geis, who was my grandfather, handled our grower relations and also helped out with sales. And when they took over, there were 15 employees, and they had right around 60,000 cases of sales that year. And then you fast forward that, in the 60s, members of the 3rd generation started coming back into the business, and then in 1977, they actually made the transition from 2nd to 3rd generation. Dave Geis was the 3rd generation president. There were also 8 other members of the 3rd generation that were involved with that group at that point in time, and then they started leading the company. And then in the 80s, members of my generation, the 4th generation, started coming back. Frank Furman was the first to come back in 1985, and a number of us have continued to come in and help build the business going forward. And then this year, 2012, actually marks the transition from 3rd generation to 4th generation. And as you mentioned, there's a very small percentage of family businesses that ever make that transition, and it's actually less than 3%. So we are just so honored to still be here, thriving in the Susquehanna Valley, and continue to provide great tasting, nutritious products for our customers.
And do you attribute the success of the family business to the values that have been sort of set for the family by it would be your great-grandfather?
Yeah. The J.W. was a very strong man of faith, very religious man, and made sure that he built this company on biblical principles. So, and those are values that generation after generation we've carried throughout the company. And so, we have a value statement that focuses on being thankful, being kind, being honest, being diligent in your work, sticking to it, and then being unified as a family within the family, and then just as a company overall, that we're all headed and working in the same direction.
Can you talk about the 4th generation, maybe some of the changes or the new innovations we may see from this 4th generation?
Sure. So I guess we have our challenges in front of us. When the 2nd generation took over, I said there was 15 employees and 60,000 cases. When the 3rd generation took over, there were 130 employees and 2 million cases. Now when we're taking over, there's almost 250 employees, and we're selling over 11 million cases. So we have a lot to do to continue that trend, and that's something that we hope to continue to do. Stay true to our roots here in the Valley, but just continue to grow into the future. And we've invested in a lot of innovation and technology to make sure that we continue to be at the forefront of our market and our industry, and continue to meet our customer demands. We're also making sure that as we invest, we do it sustainably. And as we grow, we make sure we do that in a way that's respectful to the environment around us, so that as we continue to perpetuate the business generation on generation, the environment around us is strong. And one of the things that it's not as glamorous but very important is, we're making sure that we have the capacity to expand. And one of the things we did was we invested in our waste treatment facility. Now, it's not the most glamorous investment, but it's something that I think really shows our commitment to growth and growth in the Susquehanna Valley. It really opened up our ability to continue to expand our operations, expand our volume, and we did it by investing in anaerobic technology, which is actually going to be able to harness methane gas that's exuded off of our products as they digest. We're going to be able to capture that gas and generate electricity with that, and that'll actually provide over 30% of our on-site electricity need. So it's very exciting on some of the things we have right now and what we're doing to set ourselves up for future growth.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, I love the story about how you came up with Furmanos as
Right.
opposed to just Furmans. Can you share
Yep.
that story?
Yep. So as we grew and as our marketplace grew, we started to go up into New York State, and we were selling tomatoes in the Italian market. And our broker told us, if you really want to sell tomatoes to an Italian market, nobody's going to buy Furman tomatoes. You need to make it sound Italian. So he said, if you just add an O onto the end of the name, Furmano, all of a sudden it sounds Italian, and it was much better, well received in the marketplace by Italians and the North New York State.
And it seemed to stick, didn't it?
Oh, it stuck, and it is who we are today.
I was out looking at your website, and I keep commenting on, you go out to the website, it does list the family values, gives a little
Yep.
history of the family with photos, and it also gives recipes and coupons people can download.
Yep.
Can you talk about the website a little bit?
Yeah, we have a phenomenal corporate chef, Chef Paul. He does a lot of neat things with all of our food products, finds new and innovative ways to infuse our products into different meals, and makes eating more fun. And what he's done is taken all those recipes and put those on the website, so that when folks are wondering, how can I use tomatoes, how can I use beans, they can go there and look and find different recipes that they might not have thought of before. So there's a laundry list of all different recipes that you can find for any type of dish that you're preparing. And then we also want to make sure that we're getting our coupons out there, so people are out there, because once they buy our product for the first time, we know that they're going to stay and enjoy what we have to offer them. So there are coupons that if anybody wants to download, they're out there and available.
That's wonderful. Chad, I want to thank you for your time today, to opening up your business for us. It's a great place to be and work, and if people could all live by your values, what a great world this would be. And now we're going to go and talk to some of the other employees of this plant and hopefully learn some more about this business. Joining me now is Bob Vanderhook, Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Bob, can you tell me the different markets that you sell to?
Sure, we do business here up and down the East Coast for our retail business, primarily centered in the Mid-Atlantic area. We sell tomato products to the grocery stores here in this market. We also do a big portion of our business in food service, and our food service markets are really around the whole country. We're pretty much from here to California, and service all the major food service operations around the country.
That's wonderful. Can you tell me about any of your new innovative products?
Sure. Our product line on the retail side, like I already mentioned, is really tomato-based. And recently we've added low-sodium sea salt to our product, which reduces the sodium, makes it better for you, more healthy product. We've also made it all natural and taken out anything that would be considered an allergen or restricted in any diets.
And do you find that's a response to consumer request?
Certainly the low sodium trend is real big right now, and yeah, we're trying to keep current with that. Our R&D staff and our chef spend a lot of time in keeping current with customer and consumer demands.
Okay, and can you speak to the bean products that you sell at all?
Yeah, that's really centered around our food service business. There we do both tomatoes and beans. We followed through in the tomato area in food service and stayed with the healthy, low sodium products for our tomato line in food service. The bean business is really all food service business for us, and that we have several different offerings. We offer our regular canned product. We have a low sodium all natural product. We offer organic beans, and really new and cutting edge in the industry is we offer a pouch bean now, and really we're the first people in the business to come out with beans in a pouch.
Can you explain what the pouch bean is or what it does?
Yeah, the advantage of pouch beans is it takes away the shipping weight of cans. It's also easy to open, so you can just tear open the pouch and serve the product right out of there. It reduces waste to the landfills and really delivers an excellent product and convenient product for our customers.
Bob, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us and sharing your knowledge of Furmano Foods.
It's been wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. I have here with me Jim Cole, third generation, Vice President of Ag Operations. How are you today, Jim?
Good morning, Representative Culver. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you for doing this for us today. It's important for me, for the public to know where their food comes from, and I know we're big on educating people on that right now. Can you give me a rundown, just what happens maybe from seed, to having the products on our shelves in the grocery stores?
Sure. We process approximately 55,000 ton of tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. And of that, 3/4 of that comes from Pennsylvania. And the bulk of that comes from the Susquehanna Valley. So we're processing approximately $4.5 million worth of raw product, which makes about 4.5 million cases of tomato products. So it's a big value to the community, and it's a big value to the Pennsylvania Department and the Pennsylvania industry for agriculture.
Do you grow all of your own tomatoes, or are you using other farms?
We grow about 40% of our own tomatoes, but we do have contract growers spread throughout Pennsylvania and then surrounding states too. So we have geographic insurance, and plus earlier tomatoes have to come from the Eastern Shore. But the bulk of our tomatoes come locally. And the reason for that obviously is the shipping cost. The closer we can get them, the lower our carbon footprint will be, and also lower our shipping costs too. And one of the advantages that we have living in Pennsylvania are proximity to the major markets. So the Eastern Seaboard is in our backyard for finished goods. So California, who is the largest tomato grower processing state in the nation, they actually do 95% of the nation's supply of tomatoes. But they're 3,300 miles away from New York City, whereas we're less than 200 miles away from New York City. So our carbon footprint to get our product to New York City is dramatically lower than California's. Now, some of the things that we do, we're very conscious of the effect that we have on the environment. We practice what we call IPM, which is Integrated Pest Management. So everything that we do has a reason behind it. So we're doing soil testing, we're doing crop rotation, we're looking at options to protect our crop through what we call CPM, crop protection materials, that will have less impact on the environment. So we want to look at economics, but we also look at the impact on the environment. Now you have to be a good steward and protect the crop. The consumer, when they open up a can of tomatoes or beans, they do not want to see blemishes. So there are reasons and times we do need to use crop protection materials, but we try to minimize that, and we do that by scouting the crop, applying what is need to be applied. We use technology to determine when we scout the crop. We have what we call a FAST system. It's a forecasting system. That's a series of 11 stations throughout the state of Pennsylvania that we were actually pioneers with Penn State. We worked with Penn State, Rutgers, and Cornell in developing this system, and that's all part of the IPM approach. So we've been involved with Penn State my whole life, my father's whole life, and we're actually participating right now with Dr. Falad in a research project on developing tomato varieties for Pennsylvania and the eastern coast. Now we use many other technologies. In planting, we're using what they call tray plants. So the plants are individual cells, and we have less risk of disease that way, and it lowers our labor cost. We also practice what they call zone tilling, and that is not no-till, but in vegetables it's very difficult to no-till a crop. So zone till is a step between full tillage and no-till, so it's a compromise, which does lower our cost, and it actually gives us outstanding yields that way. We also practice the use of GPS technology in our planters, in our sprayer, in our cultivating, in our harvesting. So the person driving the tractor can actually sit there hands-free, and the machine will stay consistent with the row. So that eases the operator fatigue. Contrary to a lot of folklore, you get more tomatoes in a crooked row. You have a lot more damage that way when you're cultivating, and you lose more when you're harvesting. So the GPS technology is a big asset to us in that area too.
And I don't think people realize some of the farms are 15, 20 minutes away from here.
Mm-hmm.
So in some instances, the tomatoes are picked and here to the plant within 20 minutes. How long from that point till they're processed and put in cans?
It depends on the day, but quite often we can have tomatoes cross the scales and within a 4 to 6 hour window be in the can in the warehouse.
It doesn't get much fresher than that unless you're growing it yourself.
And it's sealed, and you know, a lot of times when people buy fresh product, it's shipped from California, it's shipped from Florida, and it's in a cooling unit for 1 day, 1 week, several weeks. It's hard to say. So we seal the flavor in, and it can't, and the quality.
And the nutrients.
And the nutrition. So canned foods are actually more nutritious than fresh foods that have been sitting on a shelf for a long period of time.
That's good for our consumers to know.
Yes, yes.
Jim, can you tell us, I know the central Susquehanna Valley and a lot of the state was hit very hard by the flooding last year. Can you tell me how that may have impacted your business?
Sure. We have approximately 1,200 acres of our own land that is in the Susquehanna Valley. And the river valley is great farmland. But unfortunately, one of the handicaps of it, in extreme weather conditions, it does flood.
Right.
And Agnes in '72 would be a prime example of that. And unfortunately, this past year would be an example of that. The difficulty with this past year, it happened in harvest time. So we lost about 450 acres of our crop, which was a big hit. And so there's ways that you can overcome that. We have to buy product from other people, and we can use California as a resource there, and some other processors in the Midwest. But it is a very severe hardship from an economic loss, no question about it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I hope to see great things and new improvements and technologies in the future.
Thank you.
I have Ann Furman here with me, 4th generation. She is Vice President of Human Resources. And I had the privilege of watching you do a presentation and was inspired actually as to how forward-thinking the company is. You often think of family companies as, just family and, not forward-thinking and not innovative. And I think the way you handle your employees speaks volumes, and people could learn a lesson from that. Can you share with us what you do with your employees?
The talk that you were mentioning, we had kind of talked about how important time off is to help people not be stressed. And sort of in that same vein, we try and do a lot of things for our employees that are a little bit unique. We offer $50,000 in life insurance because that's the highest amount that you can have before it's taxed as income. We offer identity theft protection for all of our employees. We have a reimbursement account where our employees can purchase canned goods. We have a little country store, and they get a discount off of their canned goods. We really try and take care of each other. We had employees who were really severely impacted by the flooding, and the employees, they came together, they provided money, they provided help, they watched the gentleman's dogs for him, and then the company was able to match the money that the employees provided to help out one of our flood victims. So yes, we have programs in place, but as specific things happen, we really try and come together as a family and support our employees and support the local community. We're a community within the company, but we also realize that we're tied to the larger community, and we try and do things to always support that community.
And can you tell us how many employees you have here at the plant?
We have about 250 full-time employees here.
And that changes during harvest?
Yes.
To how many?
Yes. We'll go around 500 employees during the heaviest season of tomatoes. And it's funny because our season is so based on the weather. So as we're bringing in new employees, we're telling them, now remember, when the first frost hits, this is going to change. So we really are, our head count is driven very much by weather.
Okay, and I know you do a unique thing called Furmano University.
Yes.
Can you share some things with that?
Sure. Another thing, you know, in trying to provide unique opportunities for our employees, we really want them to understand who we are corporately, on our principles, and what we do. Because we think that, you know, they need to understand who we are and what we do to take pride in the company. And I'll tell you a little bit about the structure of Furmano University, but first I'll tell you that it's working. They do have pride in the company. We use an outside company to do a survey of our employees every 2 years. And the highest you can score in the survey is a 5. The highest organizational response was, I am proud to work for this company. We averaged a 4.4 on a scale of 5. Yeah. So we know that they're internalizing, you know, the vision and the mission. And we think part of that is Furmano U. What Furmano University is, it is a set of, right now it's 32 courses. And it goes through the entire organization. If you've talked to some other folks today, you might know that we're vertically integrated. We plant the product, we you know, tend to it, we harvest, we can it, we label it, we ship it, the whole 9 yards.
You market it?
We market it, absolutely. So we take the employees through that entire process, but we start with the history. You know, we go through the farming department and the trucking department and production and the warehouse and labeling, but we also talk about finance and IT and human resources and what are some of the laws that we work with and work under and are held accountable to. So we really are trying to give our employees a larger sense of who we are as a company and again where we fit into that community of citizens. And we've got great response from it. You know, some people have said, oh, I wouldn't want to do human resources after they hear, you know, everything that's part of it. But they're really getting a larger perspective of who we are as a company. And I think it's a broadening experience to the employee.
You might say they feel part of the family.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that kind of goes back to that first story I told you about, how we were able to help somebody out, one of the flood victims. We really do come together to support people. And there is that sense of family and community inside. We have folks that have worked here for 35 years. My father has worked here for over 40 years. Kermit, the gentleman that I'm replacing in human resources, has been here for over 30 years. So when you work one place for that long, you really get that family vibe. And there are lots of, you know, non-Furman family members that have worked here for 25, 35, 40 years. So you hit the nail on the head when you said family.
Great. Anne, thank you for your time today. I think you're an example to other businesses of what they can do with their employees. Your employees are proud to be here, and I thank you for sharing with us today. And now we'll be going into the plant to take a walking tour.
We're going through the plant here at Furmano Foods, and I've come across John Keister, who's about a 2-year employee here, but he comes here from about 24 years in another food service industry business. John, can you tell us what it's like to work here?
They're small, but they care about their employees. Benefits are much better than in a larger organization. They accept my experience and sort of glad to have me around, I guess. So it works out for both of us.
Great.
They're good people and glad to be here.
Thank you. Great for your time. Hi, we're here in the mixing room. I'm with John Meyer. He's a 19-year employee of the company, working on his 20th. And your position is?
Lead person for the electrical department.
And John, what's it like to work here, and what's your favorite part about working here?
Actually, I enjoy coming to work here. They make it a family atmosphere. They take very good care of you. They try to take good care of you. When you get a person like me, sometimes it's hard, but they work with me, and I appreciate that. They're honest. They give me a good wage.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm here with Frank Furman, Director of Food Service Sales. We're now in the plant doing the tour, and we're at the bean pouch line. Frank, can you tell us what's going on here?
Okay, what they're doing here is we are packing black beans in a pouch. So what they do is the black beans are already soaked to soften them up a little bit. They're brought over and they're weighed out and they're put into the pouch line. The pouches are sealed. They're not cooked yet. Then they're loaded into these trays right here, and each tray holds a certain number of pouches. As I said, they're not cooked, so what they do is they roll this whole cart over to the cookers to cook them.
We're here again at the cookers, and it's another example of what the fourth generation is doing to innovate the plant. Can you explain how the cookers operate?
Sure, this is a fairly new technology. As you can see, there's carts of beans in there. We just saw the beans that are being filled. They have to be cooked. They put the carts in there. There's about 6 carts in there, and then they're cooked under high pressure hot water, and it's a pressure cooking process. So it's about 260, 250 degrees, somewhere in there, depending on the bean. And each cart sits on a little track, and there's a gentle motion that shakes back and forth, so you get consistent cooking. It's kind of like when you're cooking your sauce at home on the stove. If you don't stir it, it's going to stick to the edges. Well, this has gentle motion, so you get a consistent cook. So it cooks the beans inside the pouches, and then after the cooking cycle is done, it actually cools the beans as well. So when they come out, they're probably about 100 to 110 degrees, and the process is finished.
Okay, thank you. We're now in a part of the plant that I've never been in, and this is called the mixing room. Frank, can you tell us what goes on in here?
Sure, what we do up here is we mix all our ingredients for what goes into the beans or the tomato products. So each tank, we have 2 tanks per line, and then each product, we have its own specific formula. So we try not to make sure we don't, have any mixed ingredients. But they get the formula sheet every morning. They have to follow that. They have to check mark to make sure they added everything correctly. And then also we keep track of everything that we add so we can trace back in case there's some problems. But everything's mixed up here. It's heated up, and then they open a valve. It goes downstairs, and it's either put into the can or to the pouch.
Okay, thank you. Frank and I are now in the labeling lines area of the plant. Frank, can you tell me what's going on here and maybe how many labels you have?
What we do here is when we pack our product, we don't label it right away because we do a lot of different labels, not just the Furmano brand, but other brands as well. So when we get orders for it, it goes through the system, and then it comes down to the label lines. They pick the proper product, and they scan the labels to make sure we're labeling correctly. Then it goes through our label lines. The cans, as I say, they're on-labeled. They roll over a glue wheel. The label wraps right around the can. And then they go, and for the retail size, which we're doing here, they put it in a tray, and then it goes onto a pallet. The number 10 cans, the food service size, goes into a wraparound carton. And as we're doing today, we're doing a private label for a company that does Passover products. So we probably have up to 1,000 different labels, somewhere in that range, because we do so many different brands.
And do you think it spans all the way across the United States?
Our strongest area for marketing is the East Coast, but we are trying to expand further west. We have some accounts now in Arizona, even Washington. The state of Washington recently gained an account up there. So, but the majority of the business is on the East Coast.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the time we have today at our tour at Furmano Foods. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me at my district office. Thank you.